On Saturday, October 4th, in Georgian capital Tbilisi, clashes erupted during the mass demonstrations against the rigging of the municipal election. This was the biggest election since the end of the last year. The observers says about dozens of thousands of people or even more. But yet the tiny fraction of these people tried to attack the presidential palace. And these pictures of fire, of clashes, of fighting pretty much covered up the whole peaceful protests. This is just another leg of the crisis that is dragging on since 2024, when Georgian Dream, the ruling party, decided to leave the path to integration with European Union and transatlantic community and move closer to Russia and to Vladimir Putin. The population, fiercely anti-Russian, was protesting that and is protesting all the time. Salome Zurabishvili, former president of Georgia, said that, according to her information, these clashes were fabricated. They were not genuine. They were staged because the government wanted to cover up the forging of the election and also try to blame the opposition for armed resistance, which is, of course, another step from the delegitimization of the opposition parties.
All those who support peaceful protests are here tonight on Rustaveli Avenue. We will stand here and continue to protest against election fraud and Russian Putinism, and we will do so without resorting to violence, which would help the government discredit the protests. None of those gathered here support the government's staged actions to seize the presidential palace by force. I do not support this either, and I am the democratically elected president. After the demonstration, Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze announced severe consequences for the organizers of what he described as acts of violence. They face up to 9 years in prison. According to the Prime Minister, Saturday's demonstration was an attempt to overthrow the government. Pro-government media report calls from the stage for a forceful takeover of the presidential palace. Kobakhidze even accused the European Union ambassador to Georgia, Paweł Herczyński, of attempting to interfere in the electoral process. Last year, the European Union ambassador directly interfered in our democratic elections by openly calling on voters to support the opposition. Let us not forget that the EU spokesperson also publicly supported the protests. It is not only Georgian citizens who criticize the unfair electoral process. Former Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, who holds the office of High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs, and European Commissioner for Enlargement Marta Kos, sharply criticized not only the persecution of the opposition by the authorities, but also the refusal to accept international election observers. We urge calm and restraint in the post-election period and call on the authorities to uphold citizens' rights to freedom of assembly and expression. A constructive and inclusive dialogue involving all political actors in civil society is essential, and we call on every side to refrain from violence. Finally, the European Union firmly rejects and condemns disinformation regarding the EU's role in Georgia and denounces the personal attacks against the ambassador of the European Union to Georgia. The position of the European Commission was echoed today by the Embassy of the Republic of Poland, which, last Friday, advised its citizens to avoid the protests. Meanwhile, the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated, "A sad day for democracy in Georgia. OSCE/ODIHR unable to observe local elections, recommendations unaddressed, regrettable use of violence. Repressive laws and jailing opposition leaders further undermine trust in Georgia's elections." Meanwhile, the aim of the demonstration was to protest against the rigging of yet another election, this time local elections. Most opposition parties did not field their own candidates for local government, but some groups saw this as an opportunity to achieve a good result in the opposition-minded capital. If successful, this would have been a serious blow to the current authorities. However, the best opposition candidate received just over 12% of the vote, while the pro-Russian Georgian Dream Party candidate received over 70%. Clearly, the city's citizens considered these elections a farce, as only a third of them went to the polls on Saturday. This disappointment with the democratic process may be a wake-up call for the authorities.